ស្ដីអំពីបដិវត្តកម្មរដ្ឋាភិបាល Digital ដែលបទបង្ហាញនេះនឹងបង្ហាញដោយលោកស្រី Clare Curran លោកស្រី Clare Curran ជាទីប្រឹក្សាបដិវត្តកម្ម Digital នៃមជ្ឈមណ្ឌលនវានុវត្តន៍ប្រចាំតំបន់ Asia Pacific ក្នុងបទពិសោធន៍ជាអ្នកនយោបាយមួយរូបជាទីប្រឹក្សានិងជាអ្នកជំនាញផ្នែកប្រព័ន្ធប្រព័ន្ធផ្សព្វផ្សាយនិងជាមន្ត្រីខិតកាល័យរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីក្នុងរដ្ឋាភិបាល New Zealand លោកស្រីបានជំរុញឲ្យមានការអភិវឌ្ឍគោលនយោបាយដ៏រឹងមាំដើម្បីជំរុញការធ្វើនវានុវត្តន៍ Digital ដល់រដ្ឋាភិបាលដោយផ្ដោតសំខាន់ទៅលើកត្តាជំរុញនិងកត្តាពង្រីកសេដ្ឋកិច្ច Digital ដូច្នេះសូមគោរពអញ្ជើញលោកស្រីធ្វើបទបង្ហាញ
Excellency Gia Vandit, Minister of Posts and Telecommunications, Ms. Pauline Timisis, United Nations Resident Coordinator in Cambodia, Excellency Sok Phuktivuth, Secretary of State, Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications, Excellency Kong Marie, Under-Secretary of State, Ministry of Economy and Finance and Secretary General of Economy and Digital Startup. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honoured to be representing UNDP today. A little bit of introduction about myself. I was Digital Minister in the New Zealand government in 2017 and 18 and a long-time politician who retired from Parliament at the end of 2020. I was responsible for the development of policy inside government to stimulate digital innovation with a common set of standards and services across government, digital inclusion for all New Zealanders, and an emphasis on stimulating and expanding the digital economy. The work has provided a deep understanding of how digital divides can entrench wider social exclusion and inequality, and to realise that the policy intent must be digital access to whole populations. There are strong economic as well as social imperatives for this. The goal is for joined up, seamless digital service provision to citizens that is backed by best practice digital and data governance. To do this, addressing the digital divides is essential. It's good for citizens, it's good for the economy, and it's good government. So I'm pleased to be here on behalf of UNDP. Next slide, please. Just a quick look at the outline of what I'll cover today. Next slide. I'll just reference the UNDP framework for inclusive whole of society digital transformation. We're supporting countries to become open and inclusive nations through planning and building national level ecosystems that are universal, responsible, equal and open. UNDP has demonstrated credentials in country digital transformation initiatives, including in Cambodia, which I'll touch on shortly. Next. Next slide. Digital equity is a building block for social and economic stability and growth. And there's 2 points to be made here. Firstly, bridging the digital divide has become an urgent public policy issue. And secondly, that closing digital divides are a precursor to wider digital transformation. The COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated a global shift which has seen people turning to digital communication to replace in-person interactions. But not everybody has been able to do this. Instead, digital inequality has deepened in the pandemic world. The impacts are still to be measured fully, but they include more children out of school for prolonged periods, large populations struggling to access government services and online shopping, and even access to trustworthy information, people unable to work from home, and less support for vulnerable communities. The social and economic effects of these disruptions are significant, and the work required to address them is urgent, important, and complex. The most vulnerable include older people, less educated people, people with physical health problems, low literacy levels, or low levels of internet skills, and low levels of trust in authority. Perhaps one of the most significantly affected groups are young people who have no or limited access to the internet or a device at home whose education has been seriously disrupted for more than 2 years. The effects include the possibility that a generation of children miss out on key schooling, compromising their ability to access tertiary training. Disrupted tertiary qualifications affects the skilled workforce. Also, social services are disrupted with long-term effects on the health system and social cohesiveness. If government digital transformation is the goal, then identifying and closing these divides is a precursor to wider digital transformation. Working from home arrangements, remote learning, telemedicine, and other novel forms of service delivery have accelerated throughout the world during the pandemic, but the adoption rate of these technologies favours more developed countries, which threatens to widen the digital divide, particularly in Asia. While the market will eventually deliver digital transformation to the vast majority of populations, even those in more remote areas or facing significant barriers to uptake and access, social and economic disruption wrought by a global pandemic has heightened and deepened structural inequalities. So there are 4 components of digital inclusivity. Firstly, motivation, which is understanding how the internet and digital technology can help us connect, learn, or access opportunities. Access to digital devices, services, software, content at an affordable cost, being able to connect where you live, work, and play. Skills, know-how to use the internet and digital technology in ways that are appropriate and beneficial, and trust in the internet and online services, having the digital literacy to manage personal information, understand and avoid scams, harmful communication, and misleading information. Next. A mistake that can be made is to see digital government as merely moving services online. The impact of this is very limited success, as digital services to citizens must be backed by systems reform inside government, moving from a distributed, siloed model to a fully integrated model with consolidated channels of interaction with citizens, where all parts of government, all agencies are mandated to integrate with those channels. I describe this as moving towards joined up, seamless service provision to citizens, backed by best practice digital and data governance. And what does joined up digital service delivery look like? Well, interactions between government and citizens in many countries have progressively moved from face-to-face or by phone to digital, whether it's getting a visa, a marriage license, a birth and death certificate, a driver's license, passport, receiving government support and assistance, enrolling a child in school or tertiary education, paying tax, paying fines, accessing medical records, sometimes accessing health treatment. All of these interactions are increasingly only available online. Perpetuation of status quo systems that are dependent on hierarchical silos and complex, muddled decision-making result in inconsistent and often undignified services that embed social exclusion. Life journey mapping, investment in policy laboratories within the public service, common digital design standards, and an open data program of policy, platforms, and practice drives successful digital public service delivery in countries that are committed to an all-of-government vision, horizontal visibility, and programs across agencies involving citizens, non-government organisations, and to some extent the private sector in their design and delivery. And where is it being done? Well, many countries are moving in this direction. We've just heard from Korea, Estonia, Canada, New South Wales and Australia, and to some extent, New Zealand. Next. The importance of working with civil society, the importance of adopting a whole of government approach and working with civil society is important. Government working in an integrated, collaborative way is an essential, and we've talked about that, but governments can't do this work alone. When we look at digital divides, one of the key issues is trust. Civil society can play an important role in working close to where communities are to provide support, offer services, and build trust. If government works with the community sector and supports their efforts, the results will be seen more quickly and be more resilient. Next. A range of UN agencies are already providing support for Cambodian digital transformation at a range of levels, including real-time data, learning and inclusion, social innovation and business development, human rights, justice and protection, digital health infrastructure, information and digital literacy. UNDP has the overarching mandate to further human development and is well placed to play the role of integrator amongst UN agencies and to link digital transformation to poverty and inequality reduction and the development model of the future. This is all about supporting the Cambodian government's ambition to graduate from a low development country to middle income country in 2024. Next. So how to start? Some practical path takeaways. Firstly, the users, the citizen, human-centered design should always be in focus. As I've said, identifying the key digital divides. What are the barriers for people? Digital transformation won't succeed unless these digital divides are addressed. Working with civil society to build trust and buy-in, data governance and interoperability are key. Keeping it simple, being relentless about it, and building on successes elsewhere. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Seek support because there is a lot of it out there. Next. So some takeouts really are that digital transformation is an enabler, an accelerator for COVID recovery and building future resilience. Government doesn't have to do everything, but can support other organisations to deliver on the ground, thus building trust. Remember that digital government is an evolving process. It needs to be iterative, ambitious, optimistic, and inclusive, embracing social technological changes, distributing capability across sectors, co-designing with communities, measuring outcomes holistically, empowering people to be creative. UNDP plays an enabling and supporting role to support on the digital assessment, a roadmap for moving forward, the enabling regulatory environment, administrative reform, and capacity development. Next. So to end, just start. It's possible, and thank you so much.